Hello peoples, before we get started into this video, I just want to say how hard it's been to make this. This is like about take 7, and something's gone wrong about 20 minutes, not 20 minutes, but maybe about 15 minutes into each take. One of them, my phone died, one of them, then it ran out of storage, and it died a second time. That's what you get for a crappy 5 and below charger. And then my bulb for one of the lights fell, and then the bulb shattered. I had to pick that up. So I plan to watch Joker tonight. Now it's 11. Now I probably tried for the first time like around 9. So I've been at this 2 hours. So I'm trying to get this done. Now, into the video. Recently, if you've been watching my channel, I've rewatched every single Marvel movie from Iron Man to Spider-Man Far From Home. And I ranked them before I watched them, and I re-ranked them today. And so my ranking before I rewatched these Marvel movies are down in the description. So I feel like it might be cool to compare the list from before and after, like after watching them all back to back. And so I guess it kind of puts fresh perspective after watching them like that. And my list hasn't changed too terribly bad. There are about 2 or 3 films that have made a big jump, but like almost every movie except for like the top 5 have moved 1 or 2 spaces, but they're all relatively in the same area, except for like a couple. So I thought it was fascinating just to kind of like, see the difference. So yeah, I thought I'd share it with you guys. Coming into number 23 is The Incredible Hulk. I used to think, oh, this movie's okay. It's not really connected to the Marvel Universe, so I don't care. Well, I was wrong because this movie's really just god-awful as well. The main problem is the villain isn't bland. It's just he's shoehorned into the last second. You don't even know he's really the villain until he's Abomination. And they're like, oh, okay, he's there to give some stuff for Hulk to punch. And most of the movies, like, generic girlfriend, I love you. Oh my god, military, let's go. Okay. Oh no, they found us. Let's go. It's just that and then Abomination. Let's fight. Yay, the credits. It's just really bad. Number 22 is Ant-Man and the Wasp. My main problem with this movie is I don't like the characters Hope or Hank. I find them both incredibly annoying. And so when most of the plot surrounds them and then finding their mom, one, I found a lack of caring. And when this is an Ant-Man movie, I at least want to see Scott Lang. And yes, he's in the movie, but he's not connected to the plot. He's not the driving force of the movie. And so when I have these annoying characters driving the movie, mad at Scott the whole time, the one character I do like, it just had this very sour taste in my mouth the whole entire time I was watching it. And the villains, 3 villains, and not a single one of them made a lasting impression. Okay, number 21, Ant-Man. Maybe I just don't like the Ant-Man movies. Well, I don't. I just don't. Maybe I don't get it. Because I guess they're like, oh, we're making a heist movie. And yes, they made a heist movie. I get it. Because the first and third act are decent. But that second act ruined the whole thing. Because it was exposition scene after exposition after villain being a villain in his lab. And then with like training, it's boring because we've seen this a million times what they do with the second act. And yes, the third act and first act is decent, but when its second act ruins a movie as bad as this did, I just can't see past it. Now, coming in at number 20 is Captain America the First Avenger. Now with this movie, I love the first act. I love the first act. I love the feel of the 40s. I thought they really immersed you well into it. But then the second act happens and they kind of shuffle the cards a little bit. Didn't work. And then Captain America completes his arc at the end of the second act. And so you have this whole entire third act where I just don't care anymore. And Red Skull isn't a threatening villain, so I didn't feel anything during this third act because there's no really tension between Red Skull and Captain America. So when they go head to head, I'm like, I feel nothing. Now, next up, number 19 is Iron Man 3. I used to defend this movie And I don't think the twist is the problem with the Mandarin. Yes, it's what caused the problem, but I don't think it's the problem. It's how they handled the twist. Because then they have this Fire Fist guy at the end. I know it's not his real name, but that's what I call him. He goes all cliche supervillain, I am the Mandarin. And then Pepper kills him because she survives somehow just because. And yeah, the third act was kind of a mess. It had a lot of cool Iron Man suits at the end. I liked seeing all the suits, but the third act kind of face planted a little hard. But I do like the first 2 acts. I think the first 2 acts are decent. Now number 18 is Iron Man 2. Here's the thing. This movie has tons of good ideas. It's just, there's so much that, it's too much good ideas. I wanted Jon Favreau to make the third one, but he didn't because it felt like he made a second and third movie in this, and it's just too much because there's stories and character moments that are like conclude in like 2 seconds because Jon Favreau with his, they give me 2, but I wanted 3 years thing, and I get it. But it's obvious that they needed more time because it just felt all not rushed. Because I don't know how long Iron Man 2 is. Hey Google, how long is Iron Man 2?
The running time of Iron Man 2 is 2 hours and 4 minutes.
2 hours, 4 minutes. That's the average Marvel runtime. So if they just maybe extended the length of this movie maybe to like 2.5 hours, maybe it would have worked, but it just had too much to do in too little time. But Justin Hammer was a good villain. Whiplash, he looked cool, but he didn't need to be in this movie. Coming in at number 17 is Captain Marvel. I don't hate this movie, and I don't hate Brie Larson. I like Brie Larson in the role. It's just I don't think she was written well. Yes, she could start off emotionless because she's trained to be like that by the Kree, but at least show some emotion towards the end of the movie where she starts to discover who she is. But they didn't do that. They're like, oh no, we have an Oscar-winning actress. It's gonna be great. But no, you still have to write her well. They're like, oh, we have Brie Larson. It doesn't matter. It felt like they didn't. They're like, they just thought, oh, we have Brie Larson. We don't have to worry about her writing. It honestly felt like that. And this movie is very cookie cutter to where storytelling wise, very cookie cutter to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I thought we were past this. Don't get me wrong. I really like the story, and this movie has a couple scenes that genuinely I love. But overall, the way they told the story is very generic. And like I said, Captain Marvel was not written well at all. Okay, coming into number 16 is Thor the Dark World. Don't think this movie is that bad. It's a fun Marvel movie with the average Marvel movie problems. And I don't think that gives it the right to call it the worst. And that's all I have to say about that. Number 15 is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. I really enjoy this movie. I could turn my brain off and really have a fun time with it. But the first 2 acts, I feel like a really long, drawn-out first act. And then the third act is the best part of the movie. And I feel like they did the third act better than they did it in the first one, even though I feel like the first one as a movie is so much better. But I really love the third act, but the first 2 acts are drawn out and it's filled with comedy. Yes, most of the comedy is good, but there are a couple of jokes that don't land, but they recycle a lot of these jokes. And so if you hear a joke you don't like, you're about to hear it like 5 more times. So yeah, overall it's a fun watch, but some of the problems are like, you should have fixed that. Coming in at number 14 is the first Thor movie. What makes this movie so much higher is the development that Thor goes through in this movie. He has the best development any character has ever gotten in the whole entire MCU in this movie. I feel like Tony Stark as a character has a better arc, but as a contained one-off movie, Thor has the best arc in one movie. And the Loki, great. It wasn't completely 100% necessary to put it on Earth, but I get why they did it. And I feel like the writer did a really good job this time. Now, coming into number 13 is Spider-Man Far From Home. This has probably the best Spider-Man action sequence towards the end where he uses the Peter Tingle / Spidey sense where he closes his eyes and fights all the drones while it's the illusion. that gave me chills. I like Jake Gyllenhaal as Mysterio, but that exposition dump really caught me off guard, and I was like, this is really stupid. That exposition dump kind of took me out of the movie for a second. And the first about 20 minutes of the movie go by too fast. They established too much too fast, where they like, oh, the blip happened. It felt, we spent 20 minutes in Queens. I felt like we could have spent about maybe 30 to 40 minutes before he went to Europe. And it really caught me off guard and just jumped us right into the movie. And I hate when movies do that. I hate when movies, like instantly, like when a movie starts off in an action sequence, I don't like that. I prefer to like start off a little bit slow and a gradual incline to what the greatness of the movie is. And this movie kind of jumped you in a little fast, but it's a weird movie if I had to describe how I feel about it. But overall, it does have some genuine great scenes and great action. And Peter Parker by Tom Holland is really great. And there is a lot of stuff that upfloat this because it has some of the best action in the MCU. Because there's a lot of stuff that uploads it from being, if it was just average action in the MCU, this movie will be a little low, to be honest. Okay, coming in at number 12 is Ironman. This is a hard movie to talk about, but of course it has a lot of respect for what it is. But I'm not going to say, like, it's the best movie ever just because it's the one that started it all. It does have problems here and there, especially with the villain. But, of course, there's the introduction to Tony Stark, and they really did a good job. Robert Downey Jr. is great. And of how he became Iron Man, they really nailed the origin there. Coming into number 11 is Avengers Age of Ultron. And this movie is really good, I think. This might have my favorite line in the whole MCU, which is by Ultron, once Earth settles, God throws a stone at it. It's so like, if an outsider saw the world for what it is right now, of how he would sum it up, it's just like they nailed their writing with him. They really did a good job writing Ultron, because he really is a mish of the internet and Tony Stark. But yeah, like I said, my only small gripe is that the action isn't the strongest, but I really like what they did with Ultron. The Avengers as a team feels a lot more like a team now, and it really worked. Coming in to number 10 is Black Panther. Really enjoy this. It established Wakanda in a great way. You're fascinated from beginning to end with this new culture that you're seeing. As for problems, Andy Serkis could have a little too much screen time, and the third act isn't the best part of the movie. Obviously, I still call the third act good, but it's not as good as the first two acts. And that South Korea sequence is fantastic. I'll just say that. When Andy Serkis says, "I made it rain," and it's just, there's like this one-shot take in there. I really love that Korea sequence. Coming into number 9 is Thor Ragnarok. And I'll say this is Marvel cookie cutter at its best, because it, of course, the small problem with this movie is that it doesn't hit all the emotional beats that you'd hope for, but this movie is so hilarious, I kind of forgive it. And I actually thought Hela was a really fantastic villain, and whoever played her did a really good job. I can't remember who played her. And yeah, Doctor Strange has a fun cameo. Korg and Meek are a fantastic addition. And it really expanded a lot of the world beyond Earth in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Coming into number 8 is Avengers Infinity War. I don't want to say this movie gets worse each time I rewatch it, but I get less engaged because, like, the first, like, I don't know, like 5 times I watched this, I was like, oh my god, Thanos is about to do it. But I'm so numb to this movie now. I'm like, oh yeah, Thanos is about to snap. Yeah, please, I've seen this. And I can't really say that as a complaint. It's just, it's hard to talk about it. This one now is because I've seen it so many times. So I don't know if that's a good or bad thing. But I'm just going to go based off of what I rewatched it this time. And yes, a lot of fun action, great dialogue, some of the funniest dialogue in the whole entire MCU. And I have a lot of respect for it, of the way they balance the characters in this movie. Coming into number 7 is the best Marvel solo outing, and that is Doctor Strange. This movie probably has one of my favorite scenes ever. And that's when the Ancient One is about to die, and she says, and she's talking about how she's stretching one moment into thousands just so she could watch the snow, and then he sees her hands gone, and it gives me chills every time. This movie keeps getting better and better each time I watch it. So many fantastic scenes. The action is different, and it's great. There's no sky beam at the end. He just goes and talks to Dormammu, and it's really fun. Coming into number 6 is the Avengers. I feel like Joss Whedon really handled all the characters well in this movie. I feel like this is the most well-balanced I've seen most of the Avengers overall. Because I can tell, sometimes you could tell the Russo brothers are a little biased towards some characters, and so they obviously like a character more and like this character less. And so I definitely feel like Joss Whedon handled most of these characters a little bit better, but of course I feel like the Russos made the better movies. But the first Avengers movie is, I'm not gonna ever forget the first time I saw this movie in theaters. This came out 2012. How old was I? About maybe 7 or 8. I remember like being a little kid, dying laughing when Hulk punched Thor after that big battle. Like Avengers, I remember I saw it in a cinema cafe, and I'm not gonna say the location, but I know exactly where I saw it, and I remember exactly who I saw it with, and it's gonna be a theater experience I never forget. Coming in at number 5, speaking of theater experiences I'll never forget, Avengers Endgame. Wow. I really loved this movie, but I have a hard time rewatching it. And it's like I haven't accepted the stuff that happens, because I'm like, I can't watch this movie again. Because of course I don't cry watching this, because I'm not a really big movie crier. I've only cried in a couple movies. But this movie gets me thinking about the characters, and it's really poetic and perfect ending to, I don't want to say my childhood, because I grew up watching these movies, and of course I'm 15 now, and to see it all come to, most of these characters I grew up with come to a close, and I'm not saying I don't care about the future Marvel installments, it just feels like my anticipation for these movies has hit its peak, if you know what I mean. But yeah. Coming into number 4 is Spider-Man Homecoming. I really love this movie. I remember sitting, like, I have this, for these other movies, I basically have a theater experience story for all of these, but I don't want to get too deep into this one. But I remember hearing half my theater gasp when Michael Keaton opened the door, and, when he was going to prom, and I remember thinking to myself, oh my god. I'll say, this movie was definitely at its best the first time I watched it. I don't want to say it's gotten worse each time, but of course, all the surprises and fun little things is what really uploaded this movie the first time. The first time I saw this movie, I probably would have called it my favorite Marvel movie. Of course, it went down to number 4, but I still really love this movie. Tom Holland was great as Spider-Man. Vulture with Michael Keaton. It was better than Mysterio. I'm not going to lie. I liked him better than Mysterio. And yeah, it was fantastic for solo outing. Tony Stark had a good role in this movie, and he didn't have too much screen time. And yeah, coming into number 3 is Captain America: The Winter Soldier. It's another theater experience I'm not going to forget. I know exactly which theater I saw it in. I remember came out in 2014. I must have been like 10. And I remember when the second Captain America hit the water after, when the helicarriers were crashing and it happened in slow motion, I was like, this is actually like a really good movie. It's not just like a really good superhero movie. And this movie right here possibly is the one that kind of got me into like critiquing and criticizing movies the way I do now, because heck, I remember thinking to myself, is this movie perfect? and now obviously I don't think any movie that'll ever exist will be perfect, but wow, Winter Soldier is such a gripping experience, because what I like about this movie is in the action sequences, they play intense music with the heartbeat or the Winter Soldier theme, and like, I felt like these heroes are at risk. But for, like, example, in Guardians of the Galaxy 2 or, like, in Captain Marvel, when they're blasting, like, fun, upbeat 80s and 90s music, I'm like, okay, they're not going to die here. I don't feel any intense moments because they're blasting this music that we're supposed to enjoy. And it just, I don't feel any stakes. But in this movie, oh my God, I felt the stakes all right. Because that's how much of a little difference music can make. And wow, this movie is such a fun ride. And it's maybe possibly one of my favorite spy movies. And yeah, coming in at number 2 is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1. James Gunn is probably the best writer when it comes to character in the whole MCU. Of course, I feel like Thor has the best character development, but I feel like James Gunn writes the best character moments and little things in the way he made us emphasize for all these characters. Like, of course, people say a talking tree and a talking raccoon. The way he did that and made us feel for Talking Tree at the end was really fantastic, and you feel the heart and passion that he put into this movie. And yeah, that's enough said. And coming to number 1 is, you probably know it, like, my top 4 hasn't changed, and that is Captain America Civil War. It's the only Marvel movie where I walked out feeling, where is this going next? How is this going to play out? And by the end of Infinity War, I was like, probably time travel's next. But by the end of this movie, I was like, what about the Avengers? And so, I don't know how to describe this movie. It's just perfect. I literally just said about 2 minutes ago, I'll never call a movie perfect. Crap, I'm so contradicting myself. But that tells you how much I really, really like this movie, because I just kind of called it perfect by accident. You know, some could possibly be perfect, but the way they have the team divided, you really get why each and every single one of these characters, except for 1 or 2, why they chose a side and why they chose that side. And the Sokovia Accords bring up, like, the big questions that we've been asking this whole time in the MCU. And we see how each character takes it in different ways. I am personally Team Ironman, but you're lying to yourself or very stubborn if you didn't change sides once or twice during watching this. Because I remember I walked in Team Ironman, halfway through I'm like, maybe I'm Team Cap, and I walked out, I'm like, Team Ironman. But yeah, Captain America Civil War is my favorite Marvel movie, and probably my favorite superhero movie, because it questions a lot of characters. So yeah, that's my re-ranking of Marvel Universe. Yes, I'm so internally grateful I got this done, because, like I said, you have no idea the pain I've went through to get this thing recorded. Like, most of my night, just trying to get this thing recorded for about half an hour video. Yep. Took 3 hours. Great. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed, because you better enjoyed this, because I'm going to be so over recording videos for a long time after this. But yeah, anyways, like, share, subscribe, and stuff like that, and adios.